What am I pretending? We all have these masks that we wear and these things that we do to protect ourselves from being seen, or ways that we justify our bad behavior when we're not quite being ourselves or our best. And I used to do Landmark, which is gone from Educational Worldwide or something along those terms. And what they are is a program that helps you live a life you love and live it powerfully. And I did this as a seeker and trying to find ways to better myself, and it felt like I could just never quite figure out, what am I pretending? The importance of this is that for most people, when you can figure out what you're pretending and what your intention is, or how you're missing the mark on what your integrity lies, it is an opportunity to clean the slate and to start fresh and kind of like be renewed in a way. So that's the power of Landmark in a nutshell. I'm Latia, and I did Landmark a few years ago. I did their entire curriculum for a living, and as I was coaching their self-expression and leadership program, I left the program. And all these years, I've been trying to figure out, like, what am I pretending? Like, for me, there were so many things that I could say that I was pretending, where it's like, I pretend I love this family member, but really I don't like them, and this is why, and this is how I want to start showing up for them. It was like a game to me. I would tell people on the subway, I would just talk all the time, like, it was nothing. It was just like, I already talked to random strangers since I was a kid, so it just became a game of creating a script and following along with what they tell you to say. And there's a lot more to it than that, but it's really powerful for people who go through it and they need it, and they can find kind of grounding in their lives. So for me, it just felt like it wasn't very confronting. I mean, even recently at work, I'll explain things and people are like, you're devious, you're petty, you're spiteful. And I was like, yes, tell me more. I love it. I was like, collecting ways of explaining how like ridiculous I can be is just a fun game. I know I'm ridiculous. I know I can be petty. Tell me something new. Come on, let's get creative. So recently, I was on an airplane leaving the Influencer Summit, and I was thinking about this moment. So Anthony Trucks was the speaker for the event, and it was before he went on stage, and he was just in front with everyone one morning, and I'm like not super fangirl because I don't really know who he is, but he's a very attractive man, so I'm like, let's stand around and watch people interact with him. So I'm like basically being a creep. It's great. I do it sometimes. So I'm just like watching him with them and how they say hello and people are taking pictures. And I was like, I'm not gonna do this. So I almost walk away, but I'm like, let's stick around. Why not? There's nothing else to do. So they start walking towards the event space where he's gonna speak or go backstage. And I'm like, I'll walk with, like, why not? Let's be in the vortex of greatness right now. This is someone who's done something, like, who knows what nuggets he'll pick up. So we're like, I'm like it's a crowd, and I'm kind of like, I'm with them, but like kind of on the edge, and we're going, and we hit this point where we're like walking up a ramp, and he turns to me, he's like, you're walking with us, and I don't know you. Hi, I'm Anthony. And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Latia. And it, for me, was a moment that, like, sitting on the airplane, reflecting on it, and reflecting on how I've been feeling and all the things that were going on with me, I cried. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I shed a couple of tears. Like, I'm just on the plane, just sitting there thinking about it. And I just felt so grateful. I felt seen. I felt included. I felt like I mattered. And there are so many times where I meet people and I don't feel that way. It feels like there are walls up. And sometimes I'm like, am I putting up the walls because I have a strong personality? And sometimes I'm like, no new friends, bye. Like, seem cool, but like not right now. Or are they putting walls up and I can tell that they don't want to let me in, or they're not interested, or they're dealing with their own things? And so to have someone who is known and speaking and doing things take the time to acknowledge me really made me feel good, because it was like, oh my gosh, like, not only are you introducing yourself, but like the joy and just presence on his face was like, yes, like, you're my people. And when he presented, it was just like, oh my gosh, yes, like, I get you. Because he made a joke about being black, and then he talked about being an Oreo, and showed a picture of his family that he was raised with, and it was just like, okay, like, I love how you broke it down. I love the way you think about it. Just the energy and enthusiasm, like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of like that. And as I've been thinking about how I've been showing up in my life, I'm like, okay, what is it that I'm like not cognizant of? What am I like kind of blind to that I'm doing? Because I know I'm very open and vulnerable for the most part. And then I was like, the thing that I'm not telling people is how emotional I am. I don't tell them how they hurt me or my feelings. I don't tell them when I'm bothered or upset or wish they would stop doing what they're doing. I just let it slide. And I let a lot of bad behavior go by, or even just things that I don't like. And because I know people don't do it intentionally a lot of times, but it's like I don't practice advocating for myself. I don't practice expressing my emotions when I'm going through. And lately it's been causing challenges because it's like, if you don't know that something's wrong, you can't help. And I don't trust people. Like, I have a lot of trust issues. Like, I barely trust myself. Like, it's hard to trust me with some things. So it's like, how am I going to trust someone else with much more? So it's been interesting just kind of digging through, like, where did my trust issues begin? How have I been hurt? And even at work, it's like, what if my manager is having such a difficult time with me? Not because he's necessarily like difficult, because he's actually been really great about things. I'm like, I think I'm bringing my past managerial experiences into the relationship, and that's preventing me from being open or trusting or trying or asking questions that could help or noticing when things aren't working and just shifting gears. Because like, I've had managers tell me 6 out of 6 people will never work with you again. I've had a manager yell at me like he was just having like just going crazy a few times, and people were like, he's harassing you, you need to report him. I've had managers who are just like just very out of touch and just very not helpful and more harmful than bringing in good. I have had a couple of managers where one was like a best friend. Like, I could talk to him about any and everything. I would be like, hey, have you thought about this? And he'd be like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, you notice things. Like, you're aware. Like, you're right. Just speak up. Like, we need you. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but like, I'm trying. And then I've had another manager where when I was given feedback and it was very generic, like, be positive. It's like, what does that mean? Like, because even though I may not express it like most people, I am a very positive person. Like, at my very, very core, I know things are going to get better and like improve. Some situations, the negative definitely stops me. I'm like, sinking ship, guys. We need to bail. But with that, it's like, well, what behaviors or actions or whatever would make this tangible positivity more noticeable for other people? So that manager was willing to give me like, you know, here's some actionable feedback and here's how we can measure what you're doing. Because a lot of times people just assume that we're on the same page, but more often than not, people talk at each other and no one's getting a point across. It's just like blah, 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 da, 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 blah, 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 da, da, da. And it's just like, well, where are you aligned? Where are you intersecting? And it's just like, align? And I'm speaking the same language. And for me, I'm very big into language and emotions and like all the things when I communicate with people. So there are like times where I'm like, I can tell you don't understand what I just said, and I don't know you well enough to help you understand what I mean so that we can get to a place of agreement. And I know that in one of the presentations from the Growth Summit, someone talked about understanding, agreeing, and committing. I believe like it was like a 3-step process where if we actually understand what the other person is saying, we know that we're aligned and we're agreeing to clear things that like are undeniable, like not, oh, I'm gonna love you forever. It could be like, I will make you a sandwich every day. When I make my coffee, I'll make your coffee. Like, we can have these like clear things where it's like, I feel loved when you do this, I feel not loved when you do that. Or like understanding where the other person is coming from, because we make so many assumptions about things that seem basic or clear, but a lot of our language is very much up for interpretation. So even though it seems like it's common sense, as Brendan Burchard says, it is not always common practice. And with common language, we sometimes take for granted that people see it the same way. So if we can take our times and get aligned and really see what the other person is needing and meaning and really collaborate, that can make such a huge difference in our relationships and lives. So let's just get things on the table, ask questions and be curious, and make sure we really understand the other person and that we understand ourselves as well. And hopefully we can have these wonderful relationships where we grow and thrive and we don't have to hide who we are. Because I realize that I have a very high association of negativity with my bad feelings or when people hurt me. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm so strong, you didn't hurt me. It's that I don't want to express my negative emotions in such a way that your feelings are hurt or you feel bad or you think I'm trying to change you. It's just that, oh, hey, I noticed that this is a thing that happened. I don't really like it. And I do want to work on holding people to a higher standard of behaviors and actions around me. And it'll work out eventually. I'm taking steps to be a better me, and I want people who are taking steps to be a better them as well. So that's how I feel about aspects of what I learned from my landmark experience, because even though it's definitely not the environment for me, there's a lot that can be gained if you know who you are already and you just want to kind of give yourself an edge in life and feel more powerful. Because they do have great tools. They do have a cult-like environment, and they don't fully understand a no. It's very interesting being around a group of people where they just assume you're a yes and you say no. For me, it's fun. I'm like, will you do this? No. What? Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, but I just enrolled you. No, you didn't. If you did, I'd be a yes, but I'm not. So go find someone else. Thanks. This was fun. And, but they're very intense energy, and I don't always know if it's coming from a good place. So with transformation, the work is powerful. If you do the work and you figure out what you need and you discover your edges and boundaries and your blind spots and you do something about them, powerful, no matter what you do. And we all have different forms of expression and messages and purposes that we're here to create. So if you've had someone tell you about Landmark and you notice that they speak funny, Landmark is very big on your word and honoring yourself as your word. And it can be great when you know in your heart already what you're out to do. But if you're like me and you're just kind of like, I'm alive, let's see what happens, then it's a space where I recall feeling like I needed to be there even when I knew I had to find a job or do productive things with myself. But at the same time, anything can be a form of practice and getting closer to a God or a divine source. So it can be good if it's a check and a fix and a tweak and a shift. And too much of any good thing can be bad. Because if your intentions and heart are not in the right place, you can use anything as a weapon against someone. Even not love, if it's true love, because we think we love people, and I think we hate and obsess over people. So one of my favorite quotes is, the opposite of love is not hate, but apathy. Because if you don't care, you're not invested. But the way we love is more mired in the physical sense of duality, where your love and hate, there's a very thin line between that. But if you don't care, you really just don't care, I'm not checking on you, I don't see what you're doing, you don't matter, that's no love. You obviously have no love for this person. You don't care. They're just a blip. But when you are checking on them and you're looking, I know there was someone who talked about, it was Trent Shelton, talked about how haters are confused supporters, because it's how are they checking on you on every social media, following you, commenting, and engaging when they don't like you? And it's makes sense. If you hated this person and did not care, you would not follow. But you put energy into things that you care about. So no matter how you show up in life, it's all about your heart at the end of the day. What's on your heart? And I just feel compelled because in the Bible, I know that it says that what a man speaks is what comes from his heart. And I find it fascinating that it says what's on your heart, not what's in your head. And how logical and in our heads we're getting nowadays, it's keeping us disconnected from people, even though we can have a great conversation and it's oh yes, hello, oh, these things, let's argue, and oh, I get that. It's but did you? Did you feel moved? Did you connect with another human being, or did you just have fun thoughts? Oh, we're just verbally jarring. Oh, touche there, buddy. That was great. Like, I feel like and for me especially, I have been so logical and in my head, and I haven't cared about other people. I like to be of service at certain times, but then there are ways that I think I need to be of service. Like at work, I need to get stuff done. Gotta make that money. Gotta be productive. And now I'm like, I'm human, and I need to honor that. And I need to ask for help, and I need to show up as powerfully as I can. And I want to be that difference maker who's like, you can be in business and have heart and emotions and be human and make money. Because business is all about relationships and who you know and how you relate to them, and those people who want to keep coming back for more and more. It's not about just like, the numbers and finances, because like all those numbers represent buyers and people. So at the end of the day, like no matter what you do, it's a people business. There's someone who's going to need you. You're going to have to show up and provide. You're going to have to do the work for a provider, like however it goes. All about relationships. So let's, get in touch with who we are, discover what makes us tick, find out ways that we can be of service in the world, and let's connect and grow and know that we are seen, we matter, and we're heard. Because I got like divine confirmation last night in a way that was just so amazing and undeniable that it's like, all right, I know that there's a higher energy, higher power looking out for me. And I'm finally like getting a clear message where it's like, okay, I keep giving you these little hints. Clearly I have to bring in the big guns. And it's like, yep, I heard a quote about horses in training. There are some horses you just use the bit and they follow and they go where you want. You have some horses you have to whip a little bit, but they get whipped into shape quickly. And then there are those horses that you have to beat it into them until it like gets to their bones, and in their marrow they have like adapted the new behavior. I'm that last one. I was like, oh, I'm like medium. And I'm like, no, I'm like, nah, you need to tell me like 50 times. And then finally I might do it. But I'll be stubborn along the way, doubting and questioning. And now I'm getting to a place of faith and just like, no, I have faith in my dreams. I'm excited to empower people and see them and share their stories and just be engaged with everyone as though it's the first time I met them. And I realized that for me, I have this baggage of knowing where it's like, I remember how this went. Oh, I've been in this situation before. It's going to go like that. So let's not do that anymore. And it's just like, no. If I could practice anything, I think it would be the practice of like forgiving and trusting my body to know and stop keeping so much in my head and just like being in the moment and going with the flow and doing what feels right instead of trying to be right and figure it out. Because no matter what happens, like there's always going to be an element of surprise in the people around us. And so I hope you can see the magic in yourself and those around you. Enjoy every breath like it could be your last. Just celebrate the blessing it is to be alive and human and able to change, because life is wonderful if you choose to make it so.